Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again, bringing you Interval 7 in my F.E.A.R 3 Insane Difficulty video walkthrough. And this level's entitled The Port, and this is easily the uncontested most difficult section of the game. This is the hardest level, this has the hardest encounter, and it has probably the only area that you're going to struggle with in this entire campaign. And as soon as it starts off, you're going to be outside the airport on the tarmac. You're going to move forward, and a bunch of those black dog things are going to spawn. And as you've known from the last level when you were on the train, the black dogs are a pain in the ass, but they're not too bad if you can manage them. And right now you only have a pistol, but you can see when they spawn, because it does that massive big fire show just then, that big eruption of flame and whatever you want to call it, and then it just means that they're spawning in, so that you can slow time down, shoot them with your gun, and then finish them off with a melee. And if you scout around this area, you will be able to pick up an assault rifle like the one I've just grabbed there, and a submachine gun. So you should be pretty much good to take on anything that the game's going to throw at you. And the start of this, and for the majority, most of this level, is pretty simple. I mean, this stuff here is not difficult. You shouldn't have any trouble with them. You've been killing them for the last few hours, so you should be quite comfortable on how to overcome them. It's just there's one section where you have to take on two phase commanders at the same time, and that bit is very challenging. And there's also a bit directly after it where you're going to get attacked by a lot of those black dog things, and it's kind of unbalanced and broken, so I look forward to that. But be careful here, because he always spawns and he's always really close to you, and these enemies are at their most dangerous when you can't see them and they're attacking you, because they love to get close, they love to do their thing, and it can be quite clunky sometimes trying to look down at your feet to see where you're being attacked from. So just be aware that they are going to try and catch you, they are going to be a bit of a nuisance, and just keep watching out for that little shimmer of light, because it means that they're going to be around. Because this level is a mixture of the dog things, soldiers. I don't think there's any cultists on this level. There is a helicopter that you've got to kill, and there are enemies with heavy guns, so sniper rifles and nail guns and things like that, so you just want to be careful. But for the most, this is simple stuff. You'll notice that I'm going to explore all the nooks and crannies on my run through. The reason is I want to see if there's any psychic links and things like that, because I just enjoy picking them up, even though I am max level and they don't really benefit me. I'm also kinda half scouring for the Alma dolls because I don't have the achievement, but I don't think I end up finding them. But that doesn't mean that they won't be there on your game, because they are randomly placed, so they are a variable that you do not control. It's just sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But you'll notice that there's going to be a lot of the double submachine gun pistols knocking about this level, and I'm not entirely too sure why, because for me, my experience with that gun is it's pretty good, it's pretty cool to use, but it's not the most effective. It burns through ammo and it's not that accurate, so I really don't use it personally myself, but they are everywhere, so if you feel more comfortable using them, feel free to pick them up. I personally don't. I like something that actually fires where I aim. But when you enter into this kind of food court area here, there's going to be a bunch of the normal soldier guys shooting at the dog things. As soon as the dogs are down, the soldiers will focus on you, so make sure you're aware of that and pick them off from your vantage point. But there is going to be a handful of guys on these sections, so you don't want to be rushing into, too feverishly, too recklessly, or you're going to die. And as always be careful of the grenades. The enemies are far too accurate with the grenades for you to mess about with them on insane. And if you've got this assault rifle, make sure you use it, because this is the bane of their existence. This will put down pretty much anything on the game. It is very powerful, very accurate, and there's a lot of ammo for it, so use it at your own folly. But as you move around this room, a few more enemies are going to spawn from where I'm looking. Once you've killed the enemies, there's going to be a bunch of dogs that will spawn from where they come from, so pay attention. I go behind this desk here. You should see them in a minute. There they are. Slow down time, pick some heads. They're not too much of a threat. But as soon as they die, you're going to see there, that's one of them. There's one of the dogs. And if you see him, that means his buddies are going to be on the way. And the only problem with standing behind this bar is if they get close to you, which they shouldn't, because as you can see, you can look directly at them as they run, and it's an easy headshot. But if they do get you behind the bar, it can be awkward to jump over it and escape, and they will gang rape you, so you want to be very careful. But just salvage around, see if you can find any ammunition to keep everything topped up, because There is the most encounters on this level as well, because you're going to be facing heavy resistance. You're going to be facing, I think, 6 phase commandos through this entire thing, because you face one on its own, and I think it's twice, or it might be just once, and then you face 2 at the same time, and then you face 2 at the same time at the end, but you're in a mech, so they're very simple. But yeah, don't relax on this level at all, because this is one of those that will catch you out if you're getting complacent, because it definitely seems like a step up from that bridge, because that bridge is the easiest, most dull level that there is on this game, in my opinion. And it's kind of a shame too, because F.E.A.R's are normally pretty consistent with the level design, and every level is usually pretty interesting, pretty unique, pretty different. Like the first F.E.A.R, I don't think there was a single level that I didn't like. If there was levels that I didn't enjoy, it was probably because they were the ones that shit me up. Now on the second one, I didn't like the labs because it was so dark, it used to hurt my eyes when I played. And because I mean, if you look you look at the back of your manual for your games, and it says you must always play in a well-lit room, you must sit at least 35 yards away from your television, you must use binoculars at all time, and be half Hispanic. They've got all these ridiculous guidelines of how you're supposed to play games, like having a break every hour so that you don't get eye strain and all this other stuff. And if you go down that list and you look at my setup, it's like I would not get provision to even touch a video game, because I would get failed on every single facet of that guideline, because I sit about 4 yards away from a high definition, like 42-inch Sony Bravia TV. I also play in the dark, where they always say you should play in a brightly lit room. I can play for 14 hours in a row and not feel anything, because I'm just immune to eye strain and headaches and all that kind of stuff. I just don't get them. And yeah, it's probably a sign that I'm probably dying or something along those lines, but I just never have abided by those guidelines, and I know it's probably not healthy for you, and I wouldn't say to anybody to advocate doing this. It's just, you know, I'm so used to it. It's a hobby I've been doing for such a long time. I've luckily got an affinity for the things they're supposed to tell you to do. But when you look at it like that, there's a hell of a lot of like paradigms in the world, especially when it comes to how you're supposed to conduct certain things. And I mean, there's the serious ones, like how you're not supposed to drink when you're on any kind of serious medication, or when you're not supposed to eat before you go and give like certain tests or go through certain operating procedures. And then there's ridiculous things like when you were told by all those promotional leaflets when it came to sex education and everything to do with, sexual experimentation when you're younger, when you don't know anything about it, where they pretty much promote that every single thing you can do that's even remotely regarded as sexual is going to give you cancer. Because they go on to tell you that everything gives you cancer, and every sexual activity can get cancer, and just silly things like that, like going down on a girl is going to get you lip and tongue cancer and all that type of stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's probably a percentage of people that do get cancer from that, and it's probably a very real statistic, but it's such a small statistic in the grand scheme of how many people are on this planet that it's not something to be feared. Because all that does then is isolate people and make them ignorant of the real threats. And it's all down to things that we've been taught, things that we've been conditioned by people. And it's all one big formulated version of control. And it's my biggest problem with organised religion. Because at the end of the day, I personally can't take anything like that serious whatsoever, because the fundamental flaw in every single dogma, doctrine and Sabbath is that it's word interpreted by man, and thus not from a divine property. It's not from a deity. These words in the Bibles, in the Quran and things like that, they have absolutely nothing to do with the divine. They are people that interpreted something a very long time ago, and you can tell that it is written by man, because we as a species, we as a fucking existence are flawed creations, and anything we do is bound into interpretation and to being flawed, because everything is learnt via outside stimuli. So just look at it like that, and I'm not meaning to offend anybody, it's just one of those things. And I don't even know where that rank came from. It's probably because the section that we were just on isn't remotely challenging whatsoever. So, but once you come into this section, you're going to be moving gradually through the airport, and there is a baggage exchange section that can get kind of tricky because it's got interesting cover and there's a lot of other stuff. But you'll notice we're chasing down a phase commander that has that Korean lady. So he's the main objective at the moment, and you are going to be killing him. So if you don't like the phase commanders, unfortunately you're going to be getting your fill of them in this level, because they're everywhere. But yeah, it always brings me back when it comes to, you know, how the media, especially how everything that exists these days in modern government, in modern infrastructure, when it comes to, you know, a guideline on how to live your life as a well-rounded and salient individual in, you know, modern society, it all comes down to what you're shown and what you're conditioned to believe, to try and put you in a perpetual state of however people want you governed. And it always makes me think of a fantastic comedy sketch by a comedian called Bill Hicks, who was extremely intelligent and extremely, you know, he had a flair for hypocrisy and for the contradictions that life throws at us every day. And I have a huge affinity for that, because I, in a way, I nowhere near compare myself to somebody as smart and as awesome as Bill Hicks, but I feel the same as some of the opinions that he expresses, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that feel the same as well. Right now, by the way, there is nothing that can hurt you on this section. It's just another one of the game's attempts to create an atmosphere that just fails, kind of. But his routine, to get back on topic, he basically says, don't watch the news, which is something I don't, because it's just fucking misery, fear, despair, and all that kind of stuff. And it basically goes on to say that all the news is, you know, recession, oppression, death, murder, rape, pillage, plunder, just all, you know, the atrocious words you could ever think of: war, famine, just all these awful things, genocides and nastiness. And there's just, you know, countless amounts of atrocities going on all across the world, and there are. You've got to be naive to think that they're not. And then he opens his front door and he makes a whistling noise. He does like a bird sound. And then he goes on to say, like, where the fuck is all this stuff going on? Because he's watching the news and there's all this constant, you know, murder streams, this constant feed of just man's inhumanity to man. And then you look outside your door and there's a guy going for his paper, there's somebody walking the dog, there's, you know, a lovely hue across the sky. The world couldn't be a more, you know, serene place. It's just a pillar of tranquility, and yet there's all this nastiness that's going on. And it's all down to the fact that the news agents, especially when it comes to what good news doesn't sell. Good news is a novelty to make people remember that there are good deeds that happen, but it's like, it's not what sells papers, it's not what gets people watching, it's not what gets the views, it's the awful things that do. And that is why, for the most, a lot of these news stations, should I say, sorry, will completely, almost ignore and ostracize the good stuff in favour of the bad stuff. And it's just, I just don't understand it. And a lot of people say it's purely for the whole purpose of keeping us in fear, to put us into this state of subservience, so that we go out and we work, you know, 9 to 5 on a shitty job just to perpetuate our own existence, and we never aspire to be anything because we're just afraid. We're too afraid to live our dreams, and all we do is we earn money so that we can buy things that we don't need, and it's this cycle of just perpetuating our own suffering. And I know that's a very cynical and a very pessimistic thing to look at it on it, but it does hold a lot of truth, and it's all because negativity seems to take precedence over good, over love, over things we should probably be focusing on, over things that could benefit us as a race. And I'm going to shut up now, because this is probably going to turn into the most depressing commentary ever written. I say written, this is all off the top of my cuff. But this section here, where you're moving towards the F.E.A.R commando, so this is where it starts getting a little bit more challenging. On this outskirts, there's a lot of cover, there's a lot of, you know, ammunition, a lot of little grenade spots that you can just keep tossing and keep getting refills for. But what will happen is, when you move into this area here, the doors will shut behind you. You'll hear the F.E.A.R commander talk, and this is the first encounter with him. And the only problem with this area, because there's the door to my left where you go through, that's where you're going to fight him. It's kind of like an office, it's kind of like a departure lounge or something like that, but it's very dark, so it can be very difficult to see him. And he does glow really, really blue, but there's also enemies, and they don't glow, and they're the ones that are hard to see. And you'll notice it's giving me a lot of the submachine guns to do this section, because apparently they must hold some kind of sacred power over the blue guys, and I haven't really noticed a difference, but I do end up picking them up later on. But what I like to do on this part is, I like to focus on the guys first. I like to stay in this spawn area where this door is, and keep moving back here just in case, and I just pepper them as they come to me, and I clear the numbers out as best I can. Because I know if I move forward a certain amount, it's going to trigger the boss fight against the F.E.A.R commander, and I think that means just then that he's teleported in. because you can hear it if you've got your TV loud enough. It makes a very distinct sound. There's also a light that comes on that cues his arrival, just like that, and the electricity. So he's very easy to predict when he's moving. The problem is you can never tell where he's moving to, because he kind of goes to certain spots on the wall, and there's 3 or 4 of them that he frequents, but you never know which one he's going to choose. And the general thesis of beating this guy is to just stun him with a grenade and then shoot him, and a lot of the times you can keep him in a stun so that he can't attack you, and when he takes too much damage he'll throw a flashbang and he'll recede back into his interdimensional travelling bullshit, and he'll come out another spot so that you can repeat the pattern. And for the most, this one is very simple. He's not that bad, this guy. The only time he's ever a real threat is if he turns out of a wall very close to you like that, and you don't have enough time to get away or go into slow motion or stun him, because he doesn't kill you as fast as you think he would, but you know, if you dwindle and you mess about, he's going to punish you, so you want to stay on your toes with them. But the flashbangs work a treat, because they stun them for such a long time, especially when you've got slow motion. And just keep using cover, keep playing intelligently, and as soon as he bursts like that, it means he's dead, and then you can carry on. You can swap out one of your guns for his penetrator if you enjoy it, and I certainly do. I'm a connoisseur of penetration. Take that whichever way you will. Nice bit of sexual innuendo to wake us up after that awfully poignant commentary earlier. But once you've done that and you've cleaned up these areas, I like to run back through, get as much ammunition as I can so that I'm stocked up, and just keep carrying on through the airport. This is a very long video. The reason for that is I kind of screwed up the edit. It was intentionally meant to be in 3 parts, but for some reason I must have been drunk or high or just, you know, clinically retarded when I was doing it, and I ended up editing them all in the wrong order, and it was just a clusterfuck. So I've gone back in, I've trimmed it down back to its bare bones, and I've done it again, and it's only on 2 videos now. So there's this really long video that gets you through the level and through the easy parts of the game, and then there's the second video, which is the hard parts of the game and the hard part of this level. But when you come out here, there's going to be a bunch of them on the ground, so if you pepper them from up here at the height advantage, you'll have a better vantage point to take them down, and then you can move along and go back down onto their level once you've cleared it up. But what's going to be coming is, after we've gone through certain areas of the airport, you're going to get attacked by a helicopter, and you have to take it down with a rocket launcher. And what I decided to do is, I decided to keep the rocket launcher as a secondary, because I wanted to use it against the hardest fight in the game. And I had about 6 rockets, 6 or 7 rockets, and there's 2 phase commanders, and he didn't kill them. So I'm really disheartened on how powerful the rocket launcher is, so I'm kind of conflicted now as to whether I should recommend your guys to do the same, because it kind of didn't work for me, and the fight I have with him is really dangerous, and I would not recommend actually fighting him like I do, but we'll soon see. I'll be able to give you hopefully some words of wisdom, and you'll be able to take it on board and come up with your own strategy. Because at the end of the day, the whole point of these guides, in my opinion, is to show you that it can be done. That is what they're all about. I remember a very long time ago when I was playing God of War 2 on its hardest difficulty, and I was so disheartened by the fact that I kept dying on this one section, and I was getting my ass kicked, and it just didn't feel like it was possible. It was just bullshit on top of bullshit on top of planet bullshit. It was like a fucking celestial body. It was a universe of just bullshit. And I wanted to quit. I really did. I got to that point where it's like, there's not even any point to this because it cannot be physically possible. And then I went on to the internet, I went on to, I think it was YouTube, something like that, or maybe just some other place with a video, and I watched a guy do it. And just because I saw that person do it, made me want to do it, because that's the type of person I am. If I see somebody do something that I didn't think was possible, I say to myself, if he can do it, why can't I do it? And that to me is enough of a driving point to be stubborn and get through any game. And that's kind of how I function, and I hope that's what these guides do, but you'd have to tell me. But while there's a bit of a quiet patch on the videos where I'm just taking down dudes and, you know, doing the first person shooter thing, I might as well talk about something a little bit off topic, a little bit different to keep people entertained who aren't interested in the gameplay itself. Because what some people have to realise is this is a guide to help people get through it, but at the same time there are people that like to watch this stuff that aren't interested in the game, so I like to try and entertain everybody if I can. Because that's just the way it is. It's a case of if you can make it as entertaining as possible, hopefully more people will watch. But anyhow, off-topic time. And that is a sniper rifle that you can pick up if you want, because it's pretty badass, and it's going to help you on this next section because there is a lot of long lines of sight and you're going to actually be taking on a lot of snipers. So I personally don't think the snipers on this game are lethal whatsoever. This is not Halo 2, they will not insta-kill you from a million miles away before you even knew they were there. These guys wave around a big giant red laser pen before they even try and shoot you, so take your time, be precise, and take them out. But anyhow, I watched a film last night called Hannah. And I knew exactly what it was when I was going into it. I'd actually seen the promotional posters for it. And it was a picture of the girl from, I think it's The Lovely Bones. There was a target on her face. I think she's holding a gun. And the tagline's like, "A Leon for the new generation." And just to interject, if you've never seen Leon, Leon is one of the finest films I have ever seen. I absolutely love Leon. I saw it as a kid. I thought the action in it was brilliant. I watched it as I got older and I understood the storyline and I really liked the characters. It stars Jean Reno, it stars Natalie Portman and Gary Oldman. And Gary Oldman is the creepiest, most terrifyingly brilliant, evil, crooked cop you'll ever see in a film. And the general premise of it, to explain it for the people that don't know, is it's about an assassin who is extremely good at what he does, but he doesn't really have what you would say is great people skills. He's not a people person because everything he knows is pretty much how to kill. He's a weapon. He's a machine of death. That's all he is. And he kind of forms this strange bond with this little girl. And there's all sorts of, subtext and undercurrents of paedophilia that people look into it. But I never saw any of that. I just thought it was a cool film. And it's a case of they bond this strange friendship, and she wants to become an assassin. So he starts trying to show her, the business and what it takes to do what he does, because her entire family were killed by this crooked cop. And they form this interesting bond, and it just kind of goes from there. And it's awesome. I think it was written by Luc Besson, the same guy that did Taken and a bunch of other films. The guy is pretty good at doing the kind of European action stuff. He's good at writing it, and it's an awesome film. Hannah is not a modern age Leon by any standards. It's not a bad film, but it is nothing on what Leon is. Nowhere near close. And I was really disappointed with it, if I'm completely honest with myself. It's got Eric Bana in it, who did a really, really good performance, because I've kind of got like a man crush on Eric Bana. I love everything he's in. I kind of worship him because he's fucking awesome. And his role is the girl's mentor. He trained her to be a weapon, and he's also like a highly skilled, asset for the CIA kind of thing. And I don't know, I expected it to be a little different to where it went. The film goes in a direction I did not see it going, because it basically has the little girl who is pretty much a weapon running through various countries through Europe and through Morocco and through various areas and all sorts of madness, trying to find her father, who's going to be in this certain place in Germany. And it's got a lot more characterization than I was expecting. It's got a lot more, her experiences of the real world, coming from, not knowing anything, because she was trained in the woods where they didn't have electricity, they didn't have anything, and all she knew was from books and from being taught. Like, she knew what music was from a clinical standpoint, as in a definition, but she'd never heard it, she didn't know its purpose, and it's kind of her discovering the world. It's a little bit on the same kind of level as in Equilibrium, when Christian Bale's character starts feeling for the first time, and he's experiencing things that we take for granted. It's a similar ethos to that, but nowhere near as entertaining, because it involves a little girl, and I just kind of don't dig it. And it's not a bad film. I'm not gonna shit on it because it's interesting. There's it goes some strange directions. It's got some good performances. It's just I thought it was going to be kind of more along the Jason Bourne angle of, a lot of high action, a lot of high intense plot twists, and the always moving, always, developing, and it kind of didn't. Kind of hit a wall for me personally. But, yeah, there you go anyhow. I'm not going to give it any conventional rating or anything. I'm just going to say, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, check it out. It's not the best film in the world, but it isn't far from the worst. Anyhow, this is an interesting room, because when you come inside it... oh, I could be on a soundboard full of porno quotes here. But when you enter... No, that's even worse. When you are playing this game on this computer, and you go into this room in the computer game, you're going to come up against I've said it again, why do I even bother? Anyhow, there is one of those phase guys in this room. He's going to spawn a bunch of enemies, and it's the exact same principle as it's been through the entire game. If you can kill him, you will have far less troubles than if you keep killing the enemies he spawns. And you'll notice I focused on him from outside that door, shooting him up on that platform, and he just blew up then, so I know there's no more spawning enemies, and I just have to finish off his buddies. But I've got no slow motion, so I'm being a little bit tentative, because if you don't have any slow-mo and you start getting shot, you can be in a really bad situation with no escape. So I always play more tentative when I'm out of juice. But luckily enough, I do have the penetrator, and this gun is nowhere near as good as it is on F.E.A.R 1, because on F.E.A.R 1 you could pretty much one-shot headshot almost every enemy with it. On F.E.A.R 2 it was kind of weird, but I think the only reason I think it was weird on F.E.A.R 2 is because I got used to it in the multiplayer, and in the multiplayer it was weak as piss. But on this game, it's still powerful, but it generally takes 2 to 3 shots to the face to pin them to the wall, which is kind of a pain in the arse because... I don't know, actually, when I think about it, it's probably exactly the same as F.E.A.R, it's just got a different ammo count, because the ammo for it on the original F.E.A.R was nowhere near the amount of ammo you carry in it now, so if you took the conversion rate together, the more ammo just equates to more shots and so on and so forth, so it's probably around the same. But there's only a minute left of this video because we're coming towards the challenging section of this level. So if you've been wondering what's so hard, nothing's been so hard yet, but the next video is going to go all the way up there into the bullshit territory of this is a challenging fight. And if you're up for a challenge and that's what you've been waiting for, then you're probably going to enjoy it. If you're hoping this is going to be a smooth and easy ride, if you're doing it in co-op, it probably is, because apparently you can pick up the phase commandos as F.E.A.R, and Pointman can shoot them. But right there, that phase guy's dropped one of those electricity guns, and that might be quite a good strategy if you pick that up, because that not only does that stun and do damage, but it also has a ridiculous amount of ammo, and that could be really good against the phase commandos. So a little tip, if you don't want to go with the rocket launcher strategy that I'm about to show you, which isn't the best strategy, pick up that laser and that could really pay dividends for you. But anyhow, there's 2 more videos left, people. Thanks for watching, I hope it's helping, and you take care now.